How you doing? Is Scream going to be the best cosmic champion in the game? Question mark. So I know for sure, without a doubt, she's going to be the best champion in Incursion if, I want to emphasize if, you're only going to Zone 15. You do want to bring Null Synergy with you for her to be arguably broken in Incursion. And what else? And you obviously want to have the right hacks. So let's take a look at her abilities. So just something I didn't mention to you, like the artwork. Look at the artwork on the design of this champion. You know, it's just so nice. Like, that's probably the best thing about Marble Contest of Champion, the way they designed the champion. If anybody should get paid the most in Marble Contest of Champion, is the design team, in my opinion. So let's take a look at her abilities. So as you can see here, she does inflict bleeds. On the opponent, there's a 25% chance he inflicts bleed. So when it comes to armor break, it is also tied to her abilities. As you can see, every time she inflicts bleed, she inflicts an armor break. And I was wondering that too yesterday, because I've been wanting to make this video since yesterday. But if she can inflict armor break on the opponent, if they're bleed immune, that goes a lot of her damage in Incursion, which we're going to talk about. But it actually is not that way. It's actually in Incursion, if the champion is bleed immune, and you will see against Starkhawk, she's going to inflict 2 armor breaks and deep wounds. That will increase the bleed potency as well, as you can see here, as well as the duration with deep wounds. So if the champion is bleed immune, she inflicts 2 armor breaks. So that can come really handy. When it comes to Bullseye, you know, if you play with Bullseye in Incursion, you probably know that you want to use Hemostatic Charge and Tide of Combat. But the problem is with Bullseye, is if the champion is bleed immune, that goes pretty much all his damage with those hacks. But with Scream, she inflicts armor breaks. So what does that mean? Like with Tidal Combat. With Tidal Combat, a non-damaging debuff expires. There's a 50% chance to gain 2 Fury buffs if you have a relic on. So that's really helpful against champions that are bleed immune. So that's going to make her really, really powerful in Incursion, even though if the champion is bleed immune in Incursion. You obviously champions that are bleed immune and armor break immune as well, so you got to be careful with that against somebody like, you know, like Colossus and as well as Absorbing Man. Those are not good matchup for Scream. You probably want to bring in Silk for those fights if you had no choice but to fight them. So, but I do think she's a mixture of Silk, Bullseye, and Venom combined. That's what makes her so good. She just seems to be like designed for Incursion. I don't know if that's intention for them, but a lot of her abilities just really just benefits for so many hacks in Incursion. Not to mention she is symbiote, so that means she can gain that 10 seconds indestructibility with no synergy. So what else? I'm not gonna go through everything. You know, as you know, when it comes to new champions, they have like a million texts in them. So I'm not gonna spend an hour reading their abilities. So that's, you know, if you want to listen to all these abilities he has, you know, Daddy Longlegs usually talks about it for an hour. So if you have an hour time to go over his abilities, go to Daddy Longlegs channel if you want. But I'm just gonna give you guys like a 10 to 15 minute video about what she can do, especially when it comes to Incursion, because I think she's going to be great for Incursion. So what do we, yeah, so the best hacks for her in Incursion, I would say, you know, in order, Tide of Combat is probably number best one for her. She's also like similar to Venom. She gains buffs random, so she gains a vicious buff, which is increase her damage over time, as well as energized buff increases her power gain or power rate, as well as bulwark increases her block proficiency. When it comes to impact buff, I'm not really sure what that is. It looks like a new one they have, but she's going to be great with buff cornucopia as well. But if I had to say in order, hacks that you want to have, Title Combat is probably number one. Number two is Hemostatic Charge. Number three is Buff Cornucopia. And number four, it could be anything else, but I would say like Compounding Harm, because when you inflict a damaging debuff over time, there's a chance you can inflict an armor break, which if it expires, it inflicts a chance for a fury buff as well. So she's just really well made design for Incursion. As I mentioned, she's also a symbiote. So with no synergy, she becomes indestructible for 10 seconds. So like she does so much damage with the right hacks, that she can pretty much knock out so many opponents, in just such a short amount of time. I think if you're only going to Zone 15, she's going to have the highest damage DPS, for the health pool in Incursion, I believe. So she's also a great counter against tech champions. She reduces their armor rating or ability accuracy, but you do want her awaken, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But she's also a great counter against Shuri, as you see earlier. It is going kind of fast. Oh, this is really another important thing about her. For each unique buff, she gains, I believe this is 20% of her base attack. So in Incursion, with Buff Cornucopia, she can gain so many different buffs. She can gain like 20 different buffs in Incursion. Like, holy moly, that's 20 times 20 is 400%. So she basically, what is that? Could quadruple her attack just from unique buffs. So she can do so much damage. And with Hemostatic Charge, that based on modified attack, so she can do like easily 1,000,000 damage with Hemostatic Charge damage burst. And then I will be grinding for the 4-star. Unfortunately, that's the only champion I will be grinding for. I don't think I wasn't gonna spend 10 hours to grind for the 5-star. I mean, it is easier to rank up and max sig a 5-star over or awaken even a 5-star over a 6-star, but as a Paragon player, as well as not a free player, not a free to play player myself, I moved on from 5 stars. I think it's I'm ranking up 6 stars now. I might rank, obviously for fun, I'll rank up lower ranked champions, but for me as a Paragon player, I'm not ranking up that much 5 stars anymore. So her special 3, as you can see, just amazing artwork. So like I mentioned, that she needs to be awakened. Yes and no. Like, it's not super necessary for her to be awakened, but it's really helpful, especially in Incursion. She has a chance to gain regen buff. As you can see here, if she's awakened, you want her awakened, and obviously if you have her max sig, she's going to be better. So is it really necessary for her to be awakened? No, I wouldn't say yes completely, but it's definitely a nice thing to have, especially in Incursion, because she can gain a chance to gain a buff, and that means more buffs, more chances with Buff Cornucopia, higher the damage you'll have, more sustainability for her for sure. She can also reduce, what do you call that? Opponents' evade ability accuracy. That can become really helpful against Spider-Verse champions, which is really annoying when they evade, and that's just really tough to get over with. And she just seems like a great counter against those champions. So the more I think about it, the more I read her abilities, her signature ability comes really handy. Just the regen alone, that's pretty much good for every fight. But when it comes to Spider-Verse, it is niche, like not for every fight, but that can come really handy against those champions. Against symbiotes as well, she gains chance to gain extra madness. Also, as I mentioned earlier, against armor tech, she reduced their armor up ability accuracy by 25%. So does she needs to be awakened? Yes and no, but I would say it really is gonna benefit her. As you can see here, against Spider-Man, he doesn't evade. Spider-Man could be really annoying to fight because he constantly evades. And what else? Against symbiotes, he gains extra madness. And against tech champions, she gains reduce ability accuracy against them. So I think it's really a big plus for her if you have her awakened Perfelvi at max sig. So I'll say that's about it. It's just I think she's going to be a great champion for Incursion without a doubt. Thank you.